the expected output is 0.2 to 0.4 gallon per minute. So that's within the range. And I picked this so that that nozzle is appropriate for that flow rate for that speed. Because the speed is giving me 5 to 10 gallon per acre. And I picked 8. So it's somewhere in the middle there. Now, we did all of this without knowing the nozzle type, right? But we could have done this whole thing without knowing the nozzle type, saying I want 6 gallons per minute, I've got 36-inch spacing on my boom, I'm going to go 6 miles per hour, 8 gallons per acre. What nozzle type do I use? And I run through this calculation. I said GPM is equal to 0.29. And now I've got a selection. I could use a TK 1.5, which ranges from 0.15 to 0.3. Wow, right at the high end of that. Or the TK2, which ranges 0.2 to 0.4. Yeah, that's nice. I'm kind of in the middle of that range. Or the TK3, TK 2.5 ranges from 0.25 to 0.5. I can still use that. It's on the low range, low pressure. Couldn't go much lower than 8 because I'm kind of in the lower range here and don't want to drop low. So this is a really good approach to say, what's my nozzle selection? What nozzle do I use? So we decided to go, looks like the TK2 is the way to go. 0.29 gallon per minute, and I'm done. No, I'm not done. Minus, I get more points off because I haven't figured out the pressure. Not incomplete. The question was, what's the pressure? Not what's the flow rate or what's the nozzles. What's the pressure? So I have to say for the TK2, I've got to figure out what pressure I want to be operating at. Okay. Well, how do I do that? Well, we have the old formula, which you should also remember, that Q1 over Q2 is equal to the square root of P1 over P2. The choices of P1 and or 1 and 2 are somewhat irrelevant. I'll talk about that.
Q is flow.
Q is flow, P is pressure. That's my flow-pressure relationship. Now, I know what my flow is, 0.29 gallon per minute. I've got to figure out what my pressure is to generate that flow. Well, I know I have a TK2. And a TK2 tells me that for some instance, if I put a pressure of 10 psi, I'm going to get a flow of 0.29 or 0.20. So I could use that, and a lot of times I will put that as my lower number. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump here over to the other board, and Q1 over Q2 is equal to square root of P1 over P2. Now, Q1 is going to be the flow that I know, which is, and I'm just going to put an arrow there, 0.29 gallon per minute. So 1 is the instance that I'm trying to figure out. So I'm trying to figure out P1. I know relationship Q2 and P2 because I know that in order to get 0.2 gallon per minute, I've got to have 10 psi. So these are my nozzle specs right here. 0.2 gallon per minute and 10 psi. Comes right off of this chart. Right there. I could use any of these in there. Going to get the same answer, approximately. Now I like to use this one because I like to work with numbers greater than 1. As opposed to less. That doesn't really matter what number you put in there. I could have put in a 0.4 and a 40. I calculate the same P1. Let's calculate P1. P1 is equal to what? Oh, now I don't have calculators.
Where did you get that second flow?
0.2.
That's just, you know that flow gives you that pressure?
Yep.
Okay.
Right off the chart. That's the nozzle. It's going to give me 0.2 gallon per minute, 10 psi. And like I said, I could have put 40 here and 0.4 there. I could pick any of these four numbers.
So I'm going to do like a ratio, 0.2 to P2.
Exactly right. So I can pick any number in there and put it in. What did we get for P1? We're running through that. You might want to think about running through those numbers. Okay. How do we get those numbers? Ooh, okay. So 0.29 over 0.2
1.45
is equal to 1.45. So 1.45 is equal to the square root of P1 over 10. Right? Now how do I get P1? I square both sides. So square 1.45.
2.10.
Can you multiply this out by 10?
Yep.
So 21 is P1.
P1 is equal to 21. Everybody agree? Ah, minus 5 PSI. Is that what you're thinking, Will? No, what are you thinking?
I was thinking about. Okay, never mind. It fits within the chart, right?
Fits within the chart. But you have to recognize it does fit within the chart, which is good, but it's not exactly the chart because I'm using 36-inch spacing. And the chart's for 40-inch spacing. So I can't use the chart to get this gallon per acre stuff for my setup. I have to use the equation. Okay, the minus 5 was I didn't put the units on there, right? You can put the units on, take points off. I say, what's the pressure? You say 21? Come on, it's like half the answer. Or more than half the answer. Okay, 21 psi. So, now that's interesting. So if I'm traveling down the road with my sprayer, and I know I've got TK2s on, and I know my desired application rate is 8 gallon per acre, and I can measure my velocity is 6 miles per hour, my controller, which I haven't even talked about yet, which is in the reading, says, hey man, you need to be operating that system at 21 psi to get that desired application rate. So you have to make an adjustment. And I'm measuring that psi pressure with what? Pulses kind of measure flow.